Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Couple Chat. Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. Okay, so there was discussion about doing take 2 with Mr. Vegan Prepper doing the sing-songy intro, and he said no. So if you want to see Mr. Vegan Prepper do the sing-songy intro next time, put it in the comments down below.
Like, comment, subscribe.
If you want to hear him sing. Because actually, it's true. I'm the more overt sing-songy one in our relationship. But he can bust out into some random songs too. In fact, that's kind of our whole family. It's part of our family cultures. We just sing random silly songs. And so, yeah. That intro that I made, my little do-do-do-do-do-do-do, that's just like normal life for us. And you know, I also made it because I was starting to feel insecure that I didn't have a cool intro. Like all the other perfect channels that there's like, I don't know, like gas masks and smokes and flames and boom, you know, insert prepper, you know. Anyway.
Doom prepper.
Yeah. So anyway, I made my own little intro, but yeah.
We got a new intro coming in our next video. It's going to be a T-Rex flying a fighter jet into a volcano with a very large bag of oats on his back. Vegan prepper. It makes total sense. Just think about it.
A little T-Rex would come out, he could be like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, vegan prepper. Okay, that's it.
What's this mean?
T-Rexes have short arms.
It's very insensitive.
Okay. All right. My goodness. So we like to have fun here, if you can't tell. But if you're still watching, congratulations and thank you. But what are our topics for today?
We're going to be talking about dominion and fear.
Mm.
And maybe some Ukrainian Russian eating.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah. Yep, that's definitely happening. We definitely know about all that. So,
yep.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, do you want to take the discussion on dominion, or do you want to start it, or?
Yeah, start it.
Okay.
So, we are Christians, as if you've been watching for any period of time, you'll know. And we are also vegans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny when we are at some church function sometimes, and we are doing our thing and eating our own food, we will periodically have comments about how we should be eating meat and eggs and dairy and all that,
Yeah.
because of the Bible. Specifically, when God said that we should have dominion over the earth.
Yeah. I'm just laughing still about that lady that was like casting out a demon when she, you know, when I asked if something was like, I was like, is this vegan? And then she starts like quoting scriptures at me and she sprinkled me with holy water, the whole 9 yards. Not really, you know, but anyway.
Yeah,
Sam and Dean showed up with, never mind. Sorry. I'm still a devout Christian, but I know who Sam and Dean are and I love that show. Anyway, sorry.
Sorry. When you said Sam and Dean, I thought Salmon Dean, like, hi, my name's Dean, and I'm a fish. Sam and Dean.
Oh my goodness. All right, we're not restarting again. Continue.
No, you guys get this.
This is it.
So, at any rate, yeah. We've had numerous people question the biblicalness of being a vegan.
Yeah.
The Bible is not against veganism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not pro-veganism, but it doesn't specify.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff in there that is pro-veganism. But
Yeah.
that's not what we're talking about.
we're not trying to like biblically prove the perfect way to eat.
Yeah.
Neither one of us believes that eating meat is a sin. This is not something that we believe. I am not like one of those vegans who considers humans a non-human, or no, who considers humans another animal. and would classify every other animal on earth as a non-human animal, I do still absolutely believe that we are a special creation. We've been created in the image of God, and we are meant to have dominion and authority on this planet, that we have, the ability to see God's will done on earth. Ideally, bringing heaven to earth is like kind of what we're supposed to be doing. So, and like that order and that goodness. And so I definitely don't condemn people who eat meat. I think that God knew, of course, in advance what was going to happen. Although I don't think that anybody argues. I mean, maybe some people argue, but I think for the most part, we can agree that the diet in the Garden of Eden was fruits.
Yeah, it specifies.
It's like, that is specific. And so it was a vegan, honestly, it was probably closest thing that really is a biblical ideal. Like so I believe personally our species specific diet would be almost like a raw vegan diet, really, based on like tropical fruits and nuts and seeds and things like that. Is that the way that I eat? No, it's not the way I eat. I'd love to eat like that, but I don't eat like that.
We live in the desert, so.
We do, and it's not sustainable. And I guess that's the point, that God knew that we were not going to live in his perfectly constructed habitat forever. And so there are other things on the planet that now we eat that we didn't eat before. And even I believe animals are included in that. Although I believe that, like I said, it's not a sin, but I also, you can see it's pretty clear. A lot, of course, people deny it, but it's pretty clear. A lot of the science coming out showing the inflammatory response in the body and all that. I feel like it only makes sense that death kind of creates death in our bodies. And the closer that we can get to eating living plant foods, the better off we'll be, the healthier we will be.
Yeah.
So that it ends up not being only about the animals. Honestly, it is about people. It's about the health of people.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So at any rate, dominion is basically taking charge of something. Mm-hmm. So God said, tend the earth, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Tend and keep it.
Yeah. So it seems like dominion is twisted into this like dominating, and that's not the point of the whole thing, where dominating is more of I'm doing whatever I want for whatever reason I want, and that's not the intent of dominion. Dominion was to take care of the whole thing and keep it working and functioning to the betterment of everybody and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's a gift. And if we treat it like a gift, then we have to look at what's best for us, what's best for the earth. And it's really hard to argue that cutting down the rainforest to have a place for cows to graze, that's a good thing. That's,
yeah.
You have to be lying to yourself to say that's a good idea. Nobody thinks that's a good idea, but the people who are, profiting off of all that destruction.
Well, yeah, and that's specifically referencing, of course, what's been happening in Brazil. The Amazon rainforest is disappearing at an alarming rate to plant soy. And so a lot of people say, oh, those vegans gotta have their soy. But really, like, when you just go look objectively, go look it up yourself, look at the numbers. It's something like, I don't know the figure exactly, but it's like in the 90s of percentage is made for cattle feed or feed of livestock, mainly cattle feed, and then also the oil that is used in a lot of processed foods. And there's a very small amount of soy that ends up actually being consumed by humans, but we're not eating any of that soy. All of our tofu, all of our soy is organic. Like we get from a different source. And the organic soy that's grown for consumption of humans, like in tofu and stuff, and like edamame and all that, like it isn't grown for animals, it's grown for humans. So the idea that vegans are to blame for the destruction of the Amazon and monocropping, and that it's just a completely false idea. The vast majority of it is going to animal feed. It just is. And just look it up. And again, this is not a condemnation thing. This is actually, a lot of this stuff is stuff like that kind of ended up convincing us and making us kind of true believers, I guess, as far as this veganism being a good choice. Like this is stuff that, like, we were meat eaters too, and we were not comfortable finding these things out. And eventually it got to the point where we just sort of had to change what we were doing. And I'm not saying you have to, I'm just saying, like, that was kind of like the journey that we went on. And it's just, it's ridiculous. And they're destroying the Amazon. Deforestation. There's so many problems with that. So many problems with it. Not the least of which is the fact that they're removing trees, like old world trees, and creating an environment that is rife for landslides. There was actually just recently, I barely heard about it on the news, an awful landslide in Brazil that killed, I think, like close to 200 people or something like that. And it just came through a village, and just basically a mudslide wiped out a village. And a huge reason that was able to happen was because of deforestation, because of losing the structure that the forest provides that, you know, prevents those kinds of things from happening. So you see, too, over and over and over again, too, what we see, and I guess this doesn't necessarily have to be about like veganism, it's just, I guess, kind of the point being that it isn't necessary. People get like super up in arms over the whole animal question. And so it's like, but it's not necessarily only for the animals. It's like, for me, so much of it is about people and the livelihood of people. You can see that the farther away we get from God's original design, the worse it is for people.
Yep.
And the people who bear the brunt are often the most vulnerable people in the society, the people who are the poorest of the poor, like that village that got wiped away, you know, wiped off the map because of that landslide. It's just a very poor village and just abject poverty. The indigenous people are losing their land, losing their home. They've managed that, lived there for thousands of years, and that land is now being stolen from them because people want to eat a burger. Like, the victim is not only the cow, I guess, is really the point. Like, it's not a sin to eat meat, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm like getting too like, there's just so many layers to it. But yeah, the idea that dominion gives us the right to just do whatever the heck we want, I feel like that is such a false idea. It's not justification for destroying the systems that God put in place. God put in place a good world. He said, tend and keep it, as in keep it, preserve it. And it just doesn't work the way that we've been doing it.
Yeah, I think if you find yourself in a position where you are using God's word to justify harm, then that's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're saying God said, do this, and then that turns into destruction, then you've missed the point.
Right.
So.
Right. I agree. Or, I mean, yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying it's like Christians who are doing all that, but, you know.
Anybody.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like, but to say, oh, you know, I can, so I'm going to go ahead and have this bacon cheeseburger. It's like, because God said it's fine, or I have dominion, so I can, and it's just like not even thinking about where that all is coming from and what it's doing to the people, you know, like the people who live right next to the slaughterhouses that have all the pigs and all that, like, right? Like, that was you before you went vegan.
Yep.
You cut pork out.
I stopped eating pork because I found out about just how the people's lives are affected in the areas where pig farms are. It's horrible. So yeah, I wasn't concerned about the pigs at that point. I was concerned about how people were being affected, and that upset me. And I instantly stopped eating pork. Mm-hmm. I never ate it again.
Right. That was like, long before you went vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was about a year and a half before I went vegan. I would not eat pork. But yeah, just getting a piece of information that completely changes the way you think about something. But yeah, it was about people, and that's still important to me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, my food choice shouldn't take someone's life and make it worse. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it. I don't know that we could ever cover it completely. We probably have missed a lot of things, you know. And again, it's not about starting a fight or an argument. We're not trying to prove anything to anybody. It's just sort of to flesh out our ideas and like kind of what we think about that. And in case anybody's wondering, like, well, you're Christian, so what about dominion? And it's like, I do believe that I have dominion and authority on this planet. I do believe that. I believe in the power of prayer. I'm a devout Christian. Like, this is not just like a Christmas and Easter kind of thing for me. This is like my life. And I believe like we do have the dominion and the authority, but it's about bringing God's will to earth. And Jesus said that we pray, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So what does heaven look like? And that is God's will for the earth. You know, like wherever God had his way, things were perfect. Things are beautiful. And yeah, the farther we get away from his will, the uglier things get. You know, that's what I believe. That's my personal belief system. And I don't know, I feel like honestly now we have access to these foods. We have the ability to procure them. We have the ability to get fresh foods, and all of our, you know, our beans and our grains and all of that. And so yeah, doing that is like causes less harm ultimately than eating the other way. And it isn't only less harm to animals. I believe it's less harm to people. So yeah, actually in my shop I have a ring stack. It's like the Why I'm Vegan ring stack, and it's 5 rings, and they say for the animals, for the planet, for the people, for my health. And then one of them says vegan, the ring. But that's what it all is. It's like a whole thing, and people is totally in there. That's a huge reason why I'm vegan.
Yep.
It's for people. So anyway, yeah. Dominion is not an excuse to destroy the planet.
Nope.
Right. It's greed. Greed is the root of all evil. That's what it is. So.
Yep.
It says love of money, or it's translated as love of money, but the love of money is the root of all evil, in case you've heard that, of course, probably. But the word is only one word, and it's avarice or greed. So it's like, really, greed is the root of all evil, I think is a better translation of that verse. It's okay to love your money and appreciate it. But, yeah, anyway.
Moving on?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do, you know, I guess discuss or just mention, I feel almost like the Dominion conversation kind of goes perfectly with like what's going on right now with Russia and Ukraine, and, you know, somebody's trying to exert their will over someone else, and you have destruction. It's just awful. I don't know.
Yeah, it's obviously you know, we're starting to see the effects of that on our lives, and it's funny how something that's happening thousands of miles away on the other side of the earth starts to affect us, but obviously that's the least of our concerns. You know, our gas prices going up and the stock market going down. I hope that for most people the concern is the lives that are being affected over there.
Right. There's a human component to it too, yeah.
And that's not just Ukrainian lives, but I think it's important to realize that Russian lives are being affected too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not everybody's choice over there in Russia to say, yeah, let's go tear up some other country. So now they have their economies being crippled.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree that we need to take steps to help end the violence over there. And I agree that putting soldiers on the ground is not putting American soldiers on the ground is not the right thing to do at this point. But I do agree that if we can do anything to help reduce the violence, then that's good. But just realizing that really all of that is not really hurting the government. It's not really hurting the military. It's hurting a lot of people who are just trying to keep their shops open and just trying to put food on the tables of their kids.
Right.
So, just realizing that everybody's hurting over there right now because of the bad choices of a few people. But
well, hopefully there were, a lot of people in Russia were prepared.
I hope so.
Had some food, and and then of course Ukraine. That's very sad. Everything they're going through, and the destruction, and it's just awful. It's just truly awful. That like you said, it's like the decisions of just a few people can ruin the lives of so many people. Like, people literally have died. Like, I think the last estimate, I'm trying to remember how many it was. It was a huge number to me when I saw it. And it's because they decide they're going to invade and a whole bunch of people have to get killed. It's just like, just so sad to me. I find myself angry, honestly, that a decision like that can be made up at the top, and now people have died. Their whole lives are completely over now because somebody was like, I need to take this country. So I just, what is that? I don't even know. So I just pray God's perfect will on that whole situation. I don't know what we can do, but pray. We're not going to start boycotting Russian businesses here, though. Kind of like you were saying.
Don't do that.
It's so dumb. Like people who have like immigrated over from Russia and set up shop here, and like they've been here for a long time with their businesses, and it's like you hear people like boycotting stuff, or like in the UK they like canceled the Russian ballet. It's like, boy, Putin's gonna feel the squeeze on that one. It's just like stuff like that starting to happen, and it also makes me feel like super uncomfortable. Like really, is that like it's like how simplistic people, I guess people, do they just have like the overly simple minds? Or I guess maybe you want to feel like you're doing something, so I'm going to stick it to Russia by canceling the Russian ballet. Like, really? And like the performers are the ones who feel that. Like
they have nothing to do with bombing Ukraine. And like they're just trying to do their life's passion and go dance at this thing.
Trying to make their money, make their living, I was seeing too, like, news about 2 giant financial firms pulling out of Russia, and there's like something, I think it said over 2,500 employees at these places. And so it's like you were saying, it's like, so I understand, sanctions are important as potentially a non-violent way to stop, but there's real people on both sides, the war-torn country, and then people who are, losing their whole livelihoods as a result of this war that they had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy. Netflix, too, I just read, Netflix is no longer streaming in Russia. They've cut Russia off. So it's like, I
was gonna Netflix and chill with my vodka.
For real, now it's just chill with the vodka. So it's like, I don't, it's just, anyway, okay.
There's it's like a business here that has stopped selling Russian vodka. Like, I get that we're not getting new products from Russia, but the stuff's already here.
Right.
All you're hurting is the people who live here that purchase the product and now they're trying to sell it. You're just hurting
The
Americans now.
American distribution companies that purchased that product now can't make money off of it because people have just decided they're boycotting everything Russian. So it's like you got to kind of like weigh. So it's like I understand. Again, like you see, the sanctions are important as potentially, hopefully, a non-violent way to bring an end to the conflict. But, like, my gosh. But anyway, like we have, and I guess I won't say specifically which one, of course, but there is a business that you have supported. It's a Russian-owned business built by Russian immigrants, and it's been around a long time. And so now, you are absolutely still going there. to give them support.
They've done nothing but give me amazing service for years and years.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do.
They have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just sort of, I guess,
Americans.
That's our thought. Yeah, there you go. Because they are Americans.
Yeah.
They just happen to be from Russia.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
My family's from Ireland. So, in the 80s, people could have been mad at people who are Irish,
yeah,
because of bombings, but that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Anyway,
Just
well,
nice.
my family's Polish, right? Or like a huge chunk of my family is Polish, and we actually, like, in our history, like the history of our family, I've shared it before, that very shortly, like my great grandfather and the whole family were basically arrested and rounded up and taken to a gulag in Siberia. That's where my grandfather was born. He was born in the prison camp in Siberia. Is where he was born. And then they escaped somehow, and this is like a legend in our family. It took them over 2 years to cross the border from Siberia back into Poland. And like it's incredible. It's an incredible story, but it was Russians that took my family and did all that stuff. But like, I held no ill will towards Russians because that's the Russian government. They, like it hasn't been, I don't know, it just hasn't been super awesome. And then they got back to Poland, and then very shortly after that, they were rounded up by the Nazis. And so it's just like this whole mess of story. I should tell the whole story in detail at some point, but yeah, it's crazy. But like, I don't have anything against German people. So anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I think a lot of it does boil down to that. I think people want to feel like they're doing something.
Yep.
Let's just like be maybe comfortable with how little you can actually do when stuff like this happens. Unless you are a praying person, I do believe that prayers are powerful and effective. But obviously, if I had the opportunity to also put real world help, then I would be doing that. Yeah. Prayer is not my excuse to not do something also practical in the real world. Just as an FYI. Because I know sometimes people are like, thoughts and prayers. And yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Sometimes you gotta put your money where your prayers are.
Exactly.
And pray too.
Pray.
Put them both out there.
Yes.
Sometimes people just need a bite to eat.
Yeah. Don't make them convert before you feed them. Just feed them. So it's like, you gotta be like, so, I don't know. So it's kind of like the vegan question too. I didn't mean to get on it, but like sometimes it's like, am I even really vegan? Because I definitely don't believe in meat. I don't believe in that it's the way to go, but like especially turkeys. So I'm not going to get into the whole thing with the injustice, the horror of Thanksgiving turkeys and what they go through. But I donated towards a place that was putting together Thanksgiving meals for veterans over Thanksgiving. And I knew for a fact, of course, that money was going to go to feed them turkey and stuff, but like homeless veterans. So, but it's like, I don't have the opportunity to donate to feed homeless veterans tofurkey, but they wouldn't want it. But you know what I mean? Like the focus is on meeting a need, and people are hungry and they're cold and they need food, whether it lines up with my, whether it's vegan, whether they end up being Christian, whatever. It's like a person is hungry, they need to eat. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we just got to do our best to love everybody.
Yeah.
Do our best to make the world a better place.
Alleviate suffering as much as possible, right? And that's kind of like the crux of what veganism is supposed to be, is reducing suffering as much as possible in the world, you know? And so I guess sometimes you have to try to decide which suffering am I going to relieve, you know? Anyway. Okay, cool. So, I guess we talked Russia, Ukraine. Do you want to talk a little bit about fear?
Sure.
Because I know there's a lot of fear surrounding the whole thing right now.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
There's a lot of, I guess, of this idea that prepping is all about fear. It's really just doing a smart thing for a smart reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have anything to do with fear. It's, I mean, there probably is plenty of people out there who prep because of fear.
Maybe it's a little bit of fear, not like living in fear. But yeah, maybe like a little bit of healthy fear.
Yeah, the idea that stuff's not going to go your way
You
all
recognize
the time.
the edge of the Grand Canyon, so you build a fence. You know, so that's kind of, I think, you know, but you're not going to live in terror of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, sorry.
I guess,
Interrupted you again.
Awareness. But,
Yeah.
but looking at, like, I guess the nuclear question was kind of coming up this week when the power plant over there in Ukraine was on fire. Let's bomb the nuclear power plant. Great idea, guys. So at any rate, with Russia kind of going on the we don't give a fat crap about what anybody says right now, it brings up the question of, well, what if they really don't care about what anybody says and they decide to, you know, be super crazy and do the thing that nobody should do and really nobody is going to do, and that's set off nuclear weapons. Because it basically says, we're going to go ahead and end the world right now because there's just too many of them that exist.
Yeah.
So that's not a fight that anybody wants to start. But that idea has been coming up, like, what if that happens? And I find myself in a place where it's not even on my radar of things that I should be concerned about prepping for or thinking about. It's like, if it happens, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably some like super crazy, ultra insanely expensive way that we could protect ourselves from that. But it's not practical and it's not probable that that's going to happen. So, you know, dropping $500,000 to protect ourselves from that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Basically, if a nuclear weapon went off in the vicinity of the city that we live in, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, we would be hosed.
Yeah.
We would just be gone. Yeah, there's
if
no
we didn't
chance.
die from the blast, then we would die from the radiation.
Right.
If we did die from the radiation, then the whole system would be destroyed, and we're not going to last very long anyways.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you know, Luke Air Force Base is here in Phoenix. Like, so it's potentially a military target, you know, so
we also have a nuclear power plant here. So.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things for us personally. Yeah, like you said, it's just not something that I'm not trying to prep for that.
Yeah.
I'm just praying against it as hard as I can. You know, like no, absolutely not. So I feel like that's all we can do. And yeah, you're right. If something went off, if somebody decided to target Luke Air Force Base, there we go. See you in heaven.
Video.
Right? For real. So, and I'm not saying that like in a lackadaisical way. Obviously, it would be horrific. It would not, and I'm not making light of nuclear disasters. Neither one of us is. It's just, for me, again, for me personally, it just ends up being like, I can't live in that headspace and exhaust my adrenals and make my body weak to disease and get stressed and upset about it. So I have to just kind of consciously table that and just live my life. I gotta live my life. And it's almost even because of how horrible things are right now across the world, my feeling is I need to work at enjoying my life as much as possible. Every single day I'm living my life and enjoying peace while I have it and prosperity while I have it. And I'm not going to waste the goodness of this day by worrying about potential bad in a future day. I have to live it up as much as I can right now, And I don't know if it maybe sounds or looks insensitive, but it's almost like, I don't know. I have to. That's what I have to do.
I mean, from a prepping standpoint, what you said about the stress of your body is very important. Mm-hmm. Doing whatever we can to live in happiness makes our bodies stronger. Yeah. Spending a lot of time in worry and fear puts incredible amounts of stress in your body. It makes you, like you said, susceptible to sickness. You're basically putting yourself in danger of being already in trouble if something bad happens. Yeah. Like you've prepared yourself for a negative experience when a negative experience happens. So spending a lot of time worrying about things we have no control over, all it's going to do is cause harm. Right. It's going to create the situations that we are trying to avoid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's always suffering somewhere, right? And we have to, you have to live your life in joy. Like when you can live your life in joy, right? It's like when I had my miscarriage years ago, it felt like, and actually I feel like it actually was, like literally every one of my friends almost had a baby, like they were pregnant, and I had a miscarriage, and then it was just like boom, 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 boom. Facebook is flooded with pictures of babies, and I remember being sad. But the thing is like, just because I suffered that tragedy, is this person not supposed to enjoy and love their baby that they got to keep? Like, is that not, they should enjoy the crap out of that baby, because it's not necessarily a guarantee, right? Yep. Like, that's not guaranteed. And so, I just made it a habit that I would just rejoice, and I'd say, oh, praise God, thank God for that person's baby, and I'd bless the babies, keep them safe, keep them happy. So actually I have several friends who have like 5-year-old girls now, or and I think they're like, even like they're all girls. And I have my little 4-year-old girl because, a year later we got pregnant. That's when we got pregnant with Sage. And I don't know. I feel personally a lot like being happy and just praising God about babies. And I feel like it put us in a good place to receive our little rainbow baby, and that's what Sage is. She's our little rainbow baby. But yeah, we have to. You have to rejoice. Well, and of course the word does say rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. I'm certainly not going to be insensitive. Yeah. If I'm sitting in the presence of somebody who's going through something, I'm not going to be like living it up with my life. I'm going to, like, in that moment, we're going to have a moment. I'm going to weep with a person who's weeping and love them and try to do everything I can to support them, praying for them. And then, as we discussed, also helping in a practical way if it's possible for me to help in a practical way. But yeah, we cannot exist in the headspace of terror and fear and upset I think that comes back to it too, that feeling of helplessness. I want to do something so bad, and we feel like if I'm upset on behalf of this person, that means I'm doing something, and it's actually you're not doing anything but being upset and hurting your own body. So I actually do have a video on the channel, a relatively recent video, all about stress and healing stress in the body, and herbs and things that can help with stress. But yeah, I think living in fear, doing whatever you can. If you don't have faith, like if you don't have God, then I guess you have to do whatever it is that you normally do. But if you believe in God and you're Christians with us, then I would say definitely turn to your Bible. This is my Bible, with my beaten up Bible that I love so much. I can almost find almost any scripture at this point in this Bible, like in my sleep. So that's why I love it, because this is the one that I've known now for 11 years. This has been my Bible. And lately, I've been in, God has me in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, oddly enough. I haven't ever heard anybody else talk about fear out of 1 Corinthians chapter 2. But I just think there's a couple verses that have really stood out to me. You go ahead and read it. It's not really about fear, but I feel like he's been speaking to me a lot about it in fear. Verse 2, where it says, "For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified." So that basically, like every single time those fearful thoughts want to come into my mind, I back up and I say, is Jesus. What do I know right now? I know Jesus. Jesus is who I know. And I think about all of the things that I know about Jesus and all the things the word says about Jesus, and that's what comes to me, and it's like, this is what I'm choosing to know in this moment, because I know nothing. But I know Jesus, so I'm going to think about him. And boy, wouldn't you know that helps to bring me back to center basically every single time. I also really love verse 9, where it says, "As it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him." And I love that too, because disaster mind wants to take over of all the possibilities of the negative and the bad that could happen. And so I can come back to that verse and I can think again, well, gosh, eye has not seen, ear has not heard. No, people haven't even thought of the kinds of things that God has prepared for us. And you start thinking about all the amazing possibilities, like, gosh, there's blessings I haven't even thought of yet that are on the way to me, and getting back into that headspace. It's so good. And then also at the absolute very end, it says, "Who has known the mind of the Lord that we may instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ." And so being able to focus on that, like if my thoughts, again, try to get away from me, I have the mind of Christ. Like, what is Jesus's mind like? And the word too does say he didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, of a sound mind. And that's what God has given to me. So if I start getting into anxiety or into fear, that doesn't come from God. God gives us power and love and a sound mind, and we can be secure. Anyway, do you have anything that helps you through fearful moments, or do you just don't even really go there? Like you don't deal with that so much?
I mean, there have obviously been things that I've been afraid of, but I don't go to the like falling apart place very often. I'm more of a stressing about dumb things kind of a person.
Yeah.
But
I think all of us do that.
Yeah.
I stress over real things. I stress over fake things. I stress over things I made up. I stress over all kinds of things.
I found myself at I don't know, mid 30 or maybe early 30s, and I was terrified of spiders, like unreasonably terrified. She would kill the spiders. I would it was unreasonable. It's like hyperventilating, kind of like really excessive fear of spiders.
When we went camping and we got that spider about that big on the tent.
Yeah, that was not my best day.
I took care of it.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. But realizing that that's not the sound mind that God promised, and realizing that I spent a lot of years saying how afraid of spiders I was. And that belief was manifesting in my life more and more and more as I got older, which seems crazy because you're afraid of bugs when you're a kid, but when you're an adult, it's kind of like, oh, it's a bug.
Yeah, and like Elliot had, is it okay to say about the toy that he had?
Oh yeah.
Like, so this is like a genuine, like a phobia
Yeah.
that you were dealing with too. This is not like just, not silly. But anyway, yeah, our son had a little purple spider. It was just this fat little round toy, and there was
looking,
nothing about it that suggested spider, honestly, except for the fact that it had 8 legs. So you realize it was a spider, and then you even like that creeped you out.
Yeah, yes. It was called Bug.
Yeah.
It wasn't the spider, it was the bug. So unreasonable.
Yeah.
So it was negatively affecting my life. So having all those realizations, I decided I wasn't going to be afraid of spiders anymore. And I did use that verse was like my ticket. I have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I was existing outside of what that verse promised me, that I wasn't given fear, but I was given a sound mind. And I was not operating in a sound mind, being afraid of a purple spider doll. But it took like 2 months of repeating that verse to myself when that fear would come, and creating that new reality in my mind. And the word says meditate, and that's what it's all about, like thinking about something that's good so much that it becomes part of who you are.
Right.
So that's what it took for me. And it seems silly, like, oh, you're afraid of spiders, but I had created this in my body so much that it would cause a physical reaction, a negative physical reaction in my body, interacting with this tiny little creature. But after about 2 months of just putting that over and over and over again, saying it over and over again to myself, and then it just became true.
Right.
Where I still respect spiders.
Yeah.
Because they will screw you up.
We just found a black widow the other night, right, out on the thing.
Yep, and I killed it dead. Because you don't mess around with spiders, because they're
that wasn't
serious.
Very vegan of you.
Definitely not.
But no, well, I mean, obviously that's potential harm.
Yeah.
Like, our children play out there, so it's like certain things. You don't let it go.
Yeah, I don't kill a lot of bugs. I'll put the crickets outside. Crickets they were causing us some trouble for a while, but yeah, I don't feel the need to just often kill something. But the black widow has to go.
The orb weavers we leave.
Yeah, they're
beautiful,
creepy looking,
big orb weavers in our garden. Yeah.
But yeah, so I respect spiders because they will mess you up, but I'm not afraid of them because of just that they have 8 legs. So I'm not gonna mess with one because that will cause harm.
So good.
But yeah, just kind of existing in a space where you meditate on good things. Meditating on fear just makes more fear.
Right.
And I mean, don't try it. Don't. So you could try it, but don't. You will create more fear in your life.
Right.
And you won't necessarily create things that are, harming you, but you're going to create an environment where you become afraid of more things.
Right.
So meditate on good things. Meditate on the joy that we have in our lives. Meditate on the fact that you've got a bucket of oats, and that's cool. You get to have oatmeal. Meditate on the love that we have around us.
Right. Well, that's what it says. Whatever things are noble, right? Whatever things are good. I actually don't know the the address for that. Do you know that one?
I don't.
Whatever things are of good report. Whatever things are of good report. Think on these things. So yeah, it's because God knows He doesn't want us to get stressed because it hurts our bodies, you know? So yeah. Anyway. And again, it's not that we put our heads in the sand. We still have wisdom, but our headspace where we live is in the good things. So,
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think that about covers it. I think this is the longest one yet, but it's worth it. It's so cool. I'm so glad you shared that story, though. You're amazing. You are. Okay.
True.
All right. So, anyway, I guess, yeah, that will be it. So let us know in the comments down below anything you'd like to say. Thank you for sticking with us this long. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. And as always, we hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. We really mean that. There's always reasons to be thankful, always reasons to have gratitude. So even if it doesn't look obvious, our lives are really kind of wonderful. And so that's kind of a lot of the meaning behind that. So anyway, we really mean that. Love you guys. We're praying for you, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.